Welcome to the second video for Chapter 4. A lot of times students don't understand the relationship between punctuation and the structure of a sentence. So I see a lot of students who don't understand what the difference is between this comma and in your first sentence and the and with no comma in the second sentence. And that becomes very frustrating for teachers because it's a little bit like you telling a math teacher, hey, in both parallel and perpendicular lines, I have two lines that are straight, and therefore they're the same. Well, is a parallel line really the same as a perpendicular line? Your math teacher is going to tell you, oh, heck no, those are not equal. But when you try telling an English teacher, well, what comma and or and, it's the same thing, the English teacher is going to have that same response as your math teacher had over here. There are similarities. This uses two straight lines. This has the word and in both. But that comma means they are doing very different jobs. So let's take a look at that through diagramming, and hopefully you're going to be able to see these different jobs more easily because you have got to stop confusing a comma and with an and you have to make sure that you are putting commas in the right places and leaving them out where they're supposed to not be there. So, first one, Meleager cried and Hippomenes laughed. Well, Hippomenes probably wouldn't have laughed at Meleager because there's this whole tragedy. Meleager loves Atalanta, but Atalanta thinks of him as a friend, and then Hippomenes is also in love with Atalanta. It's a whole drama. But let's take a look at what you have here. Now, Meleager cried is a complete sentence. Hippomenes laughed is also a complete sentence. Because those are both complete sentences, they both have to get their own diagram. So I have Meleager cried. Separate your subject from your verb on a main idea line. Simple as pie. Now, Hippomenes, I always spell this wrong. There we go. Hippomenes laughed. Okay, main idea line, separate your subject from your verb. But if you notice, you're missing a word here, and that is and. Well, comma and, but punctuation doesn't get put onto diagrams. Because these are two separate main ideas, these are two separate and equal main ideas, I then join these two main ideas with a dotted line and put my and. That is the diagram for what's called a compound sentence, meaning you have two complete sentences. Now, the second one is a little bit different. I have Hippomenes right here. What is Hippomenes doing? Well, he's first laughing. He's then collapsing. If I took everything that's after the and looked only at it, is this a complete sentence by itself? Do I have two ideas in here? No. This is not a complete sentence. So what I'm really looking at here is I have one subject with two verbs. Well, we've done one subject and two verbs several times. I have one subject. The one subject is Hippomenes. Gosh, why did I pick that name to work with? Yeah. And now I have two verbs. Laughed, collapsed. Separate the subject and verb with an upright line always. So I now have Hippomenes, laughed, collapsed, and goes on the dotted line. Your conjunctions always do. Then we have loudly. That's how he's laughing. Oh, hello. I don't know what word I'm trying to write there. But the word I should try and write there is loudly. And then on table the. So at this point, what I want you to look at is the main idea lines. Comma and means I have two main idea lines, and those two completely separate sentences are then joined together. And with no comma means somewhere I've got a branch. That branch might be coming off the subject into the verb. The branch could actually be anywhere. You could be joining two prepositional phrases, two danglies. You could have two subjects and one verb. But somewhere you have a branch. And that is why you've got both commas and commas. Ugh, I'm tired. That's why you have comma ands and just plain ands. If you have a comma and, sometimes students think that means comma and that it has to be a long sentence. I'm going to put a comma and if I have a long sentence. Well, if you look, this is actually the shorter sentence. I have a comma and if what I have are two separate complete ideas. I have an and if I have only one main idea and it branches somewhere. So, comma and, two main ideas. And, branch. Those are separate issues. So let's see if you can figure out where to put some commas. I'm about to give you a number of sentences. What I'm going to ask you to do is to look at the highlighted area and say, does it need a comma? You should always ask yourself the same question. Is it joining two complete sentences? If your answer is yes, you need a comma. If what you're looking at is a diagram that would branch somewhere, a branch means no comma. Okay, here are your sentences. I gave up on mythology for a little bit because, man, those names are horrible to spell. So, Susan died horribly in the fire and was buried in the graveyard. Here is your and. My question is, do I need to put a comma with it? Well, that means what I'm really asking you is, do I have a complete sentence in front and in back? Do I have a complete sentence in front? Susan died horribly in the fire. Yes. Do I have a complete sentence in back? Was buried in the graveyard. No. No sentence means no comma. What you're really looking at here is you have one subject, Susan, and she did two things. She died and she was buried. So you are looking at this structure right here. If you have a branch, no comma. No sentence, no comma. Yeah, that's a really crappy arrow there, but you get my point. Okay, Jose danced through the forest and he laughed afterwards. So again, my question, I've got an and. Do I need a comma? Again, that means I'm asking you, do I have a complete sentence in front? Jose danced through the forest. Yes. Do I have a complete sentence behind it? He laughed afterward. Oh, look at that. Subject, verb. Is that a complete sentence? Yes. So I do have two complete sentences. The structure you're looking at here, well, that's the wrong pen. There you go. The structure you're looking at here, you've got Jose danced, he laughed, joined together. If what you have are two complete sentences, you do need a comma. That comma is telling you what structure you're looking at. So stop looking at how long a sentence is and tell me what the structure is. That's what the comma is doing. So I have an and right here. Billy was hired by the hospital and by my father's store. Do I have two complete sentences? Yes or no? I'm not marking it for you. You have to tell me. The answer is No. Billy was hired by the hospital, by my father's store, and those two prepositional phrases are joined together. So in this case, here is your branch, and if you have a branching structure, no comma. Okay, next one, I got a trick for you. Karen was running, and she fell on her knees and skinned them. Right now, do you have comma here, but also do you have a comma here? So that's two separate questions. But again, we do the same process. Is this a place where two complete sentences are joined? So you look at it and you tell me, do I have two complete sentences coming together right here? Yes or no? Yes. Sentence 1, Karen was running. Subject, verb. Sentence 2, she fell on her knees and skinned them. So we have a complete sentence on each side. That means to do a complete sentence on each side, I have two separate main idea lines joined together. Anytime you've got two separate main ideas, you need to have a comma. Let me do some erasing so it's not quite so messy. There you go. I need to have a comma right here because comma and tells me joining two sentences. Now, how about here? Is this a place where two complete sentences are being joined? Yeah, clearly not, because skinned them, it's just the verb. So let's take a look. What this really means is, let me mark it, in this second sentence, in this sentence down here, I have one subject, she, doing two things, fell and skinned. So that means I've got one subject, two verbs. And I can do that because these are two separate ideas. I have one main idea up here. Karen was running. I then have a main idea down on the bottom. She fell on her knees and skinned them. But these are two separate ideas. So this needs a comma. This does not. And that all comes down to, what does the diagram look like? Comma, that's where two main ideas are being joined, and each of those ideas has a separate subject and verb. No comma, that is a branching structure. It's not a separate idea, it's joining two ideas within one sentence. So, let's go give it a try, see how you do on the next set of exercises.